So my altar is set, my candles are lit, and I'd like to invite you before I start to paint into Red Thread Circle. Now, Red Thread Circle is a little bit of a ceremony, and if you have red thread, great, and if you don't, you can just go through the process with us and not tie anything on. Or if you have a different colored yarn, you can intend it to be red or however you like. You can incorporate the ceremony however you want. But the red thread is all over the place in different cultures, and specifically in China is the legend that I use when I do the red thread ceremonies, which is that we are all connected at birth by a red thread that can stretch and tangle, but it'll never break. So each of us has our own piece of red thread, our own story that we hold, and we are all connected by it. So the purpose of the ceremony is to give you something to think about and to remind you that we're all connected by this thread. So if you need support, there are people around you that you're connected to, maybe in this class, maybe in your own private life, that are there for you. And you can pull on that red thread when you need to. But also to remind you that you're only responsible for your piece, and you carry what you can carry. So to start off the ceremony, I want you to, if you have the thread and you're doing it with us, then you can begin to wrap it around your wrist. If not, maybe you could hold your wrist with intention while you think about this. So we're working with Owl, and a question that I have for you as you put a few strands around your wrist is looking at the dark. Now you can see dark as two ways, so you pick whichever one resonates with you most. So darkness could be maybe those qualities of yourself that maybe you think are bad, or maybe there's something in your past that is darkness for you. So maybe you might think of that. For me, the question was, what do I hide in the dark? Or what am I afraid of in my darkness? And you don't have to share this in the group. You can if you want. For me, it was just who I am. I've been hiding myself in the dark so long that I don't know who I am anymore. Or I don't know if I ever knew who I was. It's a matter of fear and shame, I think, that I'm afraid to be who I am or learn who I am. So the past few years I've really been working on that and finding things that I enjoy and bringing myself out a bit more. And then so as you start to put it around, I want you to think about what you're hiding in the dark, or what you are afraid of in your darkness, or maybe what the darkness is for you. And the reason I didn't want to think about it necessarily as something bad in my past was because Owl is not, I'm not seeing Owl as a bad thing. I'm seeing Owl loves the dark, and the moon is there and the stars are there, so darkness isn't always a bad thing. There's light in the dark. So I'll give you a second as you intentionally wrap around, or actually wrap a red thread around, as to what darkness is for you and what you might purposely be putting in the dark or unconsciously putting in the dark, or maybe what you're afraid of in that darkness. You can pause the video if you want some time to think about that or journal about that. Okay, so now I want you to, if you have actually tying something on, you're going to take your scissors or your intention if you're not tying something on. And this time I want you to think about what you are ready to release from that darkness. What are you ready to let go of for Owl to carry away? And or what is your question for Owl? Maybe when you were thinking about the darkness, you had a question for Owl that you want to answered that could go onto your page when you start to journal. So for me, I want to, I would like Owl to help me release this fear of being seen, of being in the light, of figuring out who I am. sometimes for me the journey of who I am can become anxiety ridden because I'm afraid of what others might think, and then I hide it back in the darkness when I'm other places instead of trying out who I am. So I'm ready. So my question might be for Owl is, who am I? Or please help me to discover more about myself and to release those old stories of anxiety and fear of what other people think, because really it's none of their business to me what they think. It's none of my business what they think of me. My business is my piece of the red thread. All right, so I cut it on that note and I tie it on. Actually, I'm going to put it on my other wrist, and I'm going to tie it on to be in circle with you with Owl today and throughout this class. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you at the page.